Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 1986 action film, The Brotherhood of Justice. This was a TV movie, came out in 1986, stars Keanu Reeves, Kiefer Sutherland, I can't say his name, Sutherland. Lori Loughlin is in this. A bunch of other people are in this. So, I have a weird group of movies coming up in reviews. I found this 8-movie collection on a DVD. It's 2 DVDs. It's got 4 films on each DVD for $1 at the Dollar Tree. So it comes up to 13 cents a movie. And I was like, I would never actively watch these films unless presented to me. So I fired up the old Blu-ray player, popped in the disc, and let me tell you, it is weird watching a full-screen movie from 1986 that is super grainy because it was filmed on film, not digitally, and my TV is obviously widescreen because it's, 2021, so it's just weird. So we have Brotherhood of Justice, we have The Wild Ride, Ministry of Vengeance, Forever Mine, Confessions of a Police Captain, A Dangerous Place, Demolition High, and Street Corner Justice. I've never seen any of these films, so I'm kind of excited just to see what they're all about, aside from the fact that it's 13 cents a movie, so I'm excited to do this random 8-movie marathon. So Brotherhood of Justice, the first film in this collection of things we're going to discuss. It's interesting on a vigilante front. We've seen this trope many a times, but honestly, I don't know how many times this trope has been a thing before 1986. I myself have seen this numerous times within 90s, aughts, and 2010s projects. The one that sticks out the most is Riverdale. One of the seasons of Riverdale where Archie and company form a group of vigilantes to, bash the wrongdoers, or whatever you want to call them. So this is a group of high school seniors at Santa something high school in Southern California, and Santa Lucia, there we go. And Keanu Reeves is leading this group. He plays his character of Derek. He's dating Lori Loughlin's character, and Kiefer Sutherland kind of likes Lori's character. So it's a neat little back and forth between the three of them. But in the process, there's graffiti and vandalism going on in the high school, and the sheriff's annoyed, and the principal's not really doing anything, and he's like, this is our school, we should take pride. So then Keanu, there's a lot of K names, takes it into his own hands and talks to his fellow high school buddies, his fellow football buddies, because he is the captain and quarterback of the football team. Hey, we're gonna make it the Brotherhood of Justice. We're gonna meet up at the carousel each night, and we're gonna put a list together of people that are doing wrong in our school. But then it turns into actual assault and stabbing someone and blowing a car up and trying to blow up a car with a pipe bomb. So it took a turn. It took a very dark turn. And then the ending is Keanu going to the police station to turn everyone in. And then the credit scene is photographs of them being arrested, which I thought was neat. My only problem with this film is that it was so strange having the 80s synth horror music, the creepiness of something bad's gonna happen, but it's not a horror movie. It's an action film. There's some blood, but not an excessive amount. It's more vigilante stuff. So it's action, adventure, vigilante stuff, not Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees in the 80s, wreaking havoc and slicing people to death. That's horror. But it had that kind of same synthy horror music to it, so it was weird listening to that music, thinking horror film, but it's not a horror film. It's my only problem with it. It's also interesting to see Keanu in 1986 playing his high school senior when he's playing a high school senior in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was in 1989. So I don't know how many other 1980s films Keanu Reeves is in where he plays a high school senior. I'd have to look into that. I know he's in Point Break, but I don't know if he's a college kid in Point Break or if he's a high school senior in Point Break. The original Point Break that came out in the 80s, excuse me. Another thing which I find interesting, and I don't know if this movie came out first or if Point Break came out first, but the concept of bad guys or vigilantes, whatever, wearing president masks is in both films, which then also has a lot to do with the Purge franchise. You're wearing masks, there's president masks involved, especially within the Purge election year, which is another franchise we have to binge. We already talked about season 1 and season 2 of the TV show, and we talked about the 4th movie, but the 5th movie's coming out next month, and we got to talk about 1, 2, and 3 before we watch and talk about 5. We got things. We got a list. I also got a 20 movie list of spooky movies to talk about for spooky season, so I gotta pace myself. Yeah. So I don't know, I don't know if Point Break came before Brotherhood of Justice. I have to look this up. And I also don't know how many other vengeance movies there are where the vengeance guys are wearing president masks, but I think that's another interesting trope from the 80s, which then carried over into the 2010s, because that is a big focal point of the mask wearing in The Purge. So it's interesting. I love that word. It's my favorite word. You can say it two ways: interesting or interesting, depending on how you feel that day. You can use 3 syllables or 4 syllables. It's great. Point of me saying interesting is when you watch so many different projects, when you watch so many different films or TV shows, you notice certain things that keep carrying over. You know, like how in fashion something will always go out of fashion, but then it'll come back eventually, kind of a thing, in a little twist. I see that a lot with TV shows and film, but it's not a matter of reboot or a remake. It's a matter of what trope we know works, can we twist a little bit and use it again? So that president mask bit for a vengeance person, I'm seeing a lot within this decade as compared to the 80s stuff, which I was not alive for, but it's interesting acknowledging this stuff. It's interesting finding these things. It's interesting being aware of these things. So, okay, one down. Which one's next? The Wild Ride, starring Jack Nicholson. Never heard of it. What year is this? 19 something. It's all fuzzy. It's all fuzzy. We'll find out. The Wild Ride. Okay. On to The Wild Ride. Mucho mahalo.